today's session, the first Feeling the Pulse session of 2021, we have the following agenda. We'll start with a little breakout just to check in how we're all doing. And these will be done in very small groups of 2. Then we'll have a trends presentation. So going over some of the key trends of the 2020 benchmark. Then we'll have 2 presentations, one by Luisa from Berlin and one from Julie from Bordeaux. And both of those will be showcasing all the good work that they've been doing in their destinations on sustainability. Then we'll have a little question and answer session, so an open floor for all of you to ask questions on the trends presentation, Luisa's presentation and Julie's presentation. And then we'll have another little breakout for reflections, and then we'll finish with the next steps. Now, some general rules and guidance. So one is this session will be recorded. Please be aware of this. So if you don't wish to be seen or heard, mute yourself and hide your video. Then throughout the session, you can show acknowledgement with a thumbs up towards the screen or use the little reactions within Zoom. Throughout the session, as we're presenting, please remain muted, except for the open floor Q&A session. And during the session, when there's the Q&A, you can just raise your hand or signal the moderator in any other way if you wish to speak. And one other recommendation is to select the speaker view in Zoom as you go through this presentation. So especially when people are presenting, it's nice to see their face and the presentation that they have. So in the top right corner, usually there's a little option to change that to speaker view. And then lastly, as already mentioned in the agenda, we will be doing breakouts. So there will be a little message that pops up on your screen in a minute, inviting you to enter a breakout room. So please accept that and then enter the breakout room with the other people.
Thank you, Noah. And because we have some apparently also new people here on our call today, and we also would like to introduce ourselves here from the GDS movement. And I would like to start. My name is Claudia van Tullenaar, and I am residing in Germany. I'm Senior Global Changemaker with the GDSM, and I would like to pass on the stick to Rebecca to introduce herself, so that you also get to know the rest of the team.
Thank you, Claudia. I am Rebecca, Sustainability Changemaker, British, living in Barcelona. I know quite a few of the faces and names on the call. It's lovely to be with you here this morning. Noah.
Yeah, so I'm Noah Joubert, also one of the sustainability change makers of the GDS movement and in charge of IT developments, looking at data and other fun stuff. So now over to Melissa.
Hello, everyone. My name is Melissa Baird, and I work out of a very small town called Riviersonderend in the Western Cape in South Africa. I'm an avid traveler, missing my opportunities to adventure, and it's just so wonderful to see you all here because I kind of get a feeling that you're bringing some of the world to me. So it's wonderful. Thank you for joining us.
Guy?
He's not here today, Claudia.
Okay, good. Okay, so then, as we have so many different names and signals here, so let's please, if you could draw on a paper or something where you're coming from, let's be surprised what kind of global community we are. So if you would write on your piece of paper your city or yeah, best of city or region where you are in. And then let's have a look. A ver. Oh, Stockholm, Toulouse, Sapporo, Barcelona. Ah, isn't that great to see everyone? Granada. A ver, Bordeaux, Belfast, Western Cape, South Africa, London, Zurich, and Aarhus. Wow, a little bit more to the camera, please, so I can read more. Berlin.
Tokyo.
Oh, Monaco. So thank you so much, everyone. Let me see on the set, because we have so many. Tokyo, Vienna. Oh, wonderful. Isn't it great to have a feeling? I mean, it's like so exciting to be such an international crowd coming together for today. So thank you very much for showing this. And what we will do now next, because it's the first time also in the year, and also we are such a different crowd, so we will now go into breakouts in 2, and so just to have a personal exchange or whatever you feel like exchanging. So you'll have 4 or 5 minutes, and then we'll bring you back. Okay? Yeah, so there we are. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed sharing with your colleagues and peers and friends and meeting new people or catching up with people. So that's really wonderful. And so now we will have a short presentation with Noah and Rebecca, who will inform us about the trends from the last year's data. So that should be very exciting. So without further ado, I pass over to Rebecca and Noah. Please go ahead.
Okay. I will share. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yep, perfect.
Okay, great. Okay, morning everybody. So we will have a presentation about trends and recommendations from the GDS-Index 2020. We'll just give you first a little overview of the context of the scores, and then Noah will go into details on the DMO and supplier trends, finishing up with some recommendations for you all and next steps for the coming year. So if we look at the overall averages of scores from this year, we can see that performance is up 14% versus the average scores in 2016. However, there was a decline of 6% when we compare the 2020 scores to 2019. So we're just going to have a look in a bit more detail about why that could be. Just so there's no panic, you can see from the graphs here, the DMO, which is in dark blue, the DMO score stayed relatively the same. That's been relatively stable 2019 to 2020. The bigger difference that you can see is in the supplier management category in the lighter blue, from 57.34 declined to 45.52. So let's have a look at some of the reasons as to why some of these changes could be. So this graph corresponds to participation of the GDS movement in the GDS-Index. So in dark blue, you can see the 2020 benchmarkers. So approximately 70% of the GDS community benchmarked in 2020, which is absolutely fantastic. You can see here in light blue that refers to the 30% who decided not to benchmark but exchanged those services for consulting with us this year. And interesting to note that 10% of that 30% were actually top 20 scorers in 2019. So the absence of their scores did have a slight impact on the GDS average calculations for 2020. And another interesting characteristic to note was the amount of new destinations that we had in 2020. So we're really excited that 25% of our destinations who benchmarked in 2020 were actually new destinations. And evidently, we all know it's challenging the first year of participating in the GDS-Index. So traditionally, those new destinations do have a lower score. So that will also have had an impact on the average. A further 2 points then to add to this are the number of criteria. So the criteria we had 69 criteria in 2020 as opposed to 71 in 2019. So the number of criteria hasn't really changed. What did change in 2020 was that we asked for more things. So we had the same questions, but within those questions, there were more points available, but there were also more requirements. So we were really going for quality over quantity in the GDS-Index this year. So in order to get the points, you had to provide not the same documents as in 2020, but the same documents with more quality characteristics. So within the policy, the strategy documents, etc. And lastly, obviously, the challenges of COVID. 2020 had an impact on the scores, so we always try to keep the index relevant and productive as much as possible, which meant that we wanted to add some questions to reflect the current situation. So there were extra questions last year regarding crisis management, strategy renewal, recovery programs. Some destinations struggled to answer all of those, and that obviously had a slight impact. Obviously, everybody had challenges in managing their supplier base this year, completely normal. And also there were changes in resources within the DMOs. So a lot of you experienced reduced time, reduced timetables, and reduced resources for the support, for your support in completing the index. So I will now hand over to Noah. You're on mute, Noah.
All right, should be fixed now. So as we all full well know, there's some truly mega issues at the moment that are shifting and changing our lives and how we can work. COVID-19 is, of course, the most recent manifestation of these waves of impact. We at the GDS movement, we believe that there are other ways of impact, and a lot of you probably feel similar, that a recession will soon follow. Climate change caused by economic activity looms on the horizon. So what we hope to exist for is, of course, to try and help you navigate those crises and those challenges that will come more in the future. And so what I'm now going to look at is a little bit some of those DMO trends, because of course those are the organizations that we seek to support, and then look at some of the supplier trends as well from the 2020 benchmark. So looking at DMO trends, specifically at strategy development, policies, and reporting. Overall, it's quite a positive, starting with a positive here, that 77% of destinations of DMOs do have a sustainability strategy in place. This is up from 73% in 2019. At the same time, there's also an improving quality of those sustainability strategies. So better KPIs, more SMART goals. I think, for example, for the social KPIs, it went up from 42% to 42% of destinations having them, up from 29% in 2019. So actually quite a big increase. Now, however, a lot of the sustainability policies of the past were not really up to the new standards of 2020. So this meant that only 26% of DMOs had a sustainability policy that was signed by an exec and available publicly, which is down from 48% in 2019. Looking at the reporting, so it's very much linked with the KPIs and SMART goals that I was talking about. While they are improving overall, there's still quite a few destinations which don't really have KPIs and SMART goals. And what you can see here in the graph to the right, the green bar is the percentage of destinations that have KPIs and SMART goals of some sort for sustainability issues, and the blue one for 2019. So as you can see, for economic issues, there's been an increase. For environmental and social issues, a marginal decrease, but overall, there's still around half of the destinations which don't have environmental issues or social issues addressed through their KPIs and SMART goals. Similarly, I think when we look at how this actually is then tracked to really report and communicate impact, there are around 60% of DMOs on the GDS-Index which have some sort of system in place to currently measure the performance of those KPIs and goals. But again, similar to these DMOs with KPIs and SMART goals, the economic issues really dominate. And only around 5% measure progress for environmental issues. So this is definitely, I think, something to look at in the coming years. How can we really think about environmental issues a bit more when it comes to actually measuring impact? Because I know that when it comes to communications, this is already a big theme, but when it comes to the actual data collection, identifying KPIs for them, that's still some room for improvement. And very similarly, if there's no measurement system in place, reporting cannot be really done. And this is also shown in the data. So reporting on sustainability is overall still relatively poor, with around 74% of destinations not really reporting on sustainability performance publicly. Now, when it comes to a DMO's role in capacity building, this is actually something where we've seen quite an increase in support. So there's a lot more in 2020 anyway, there was a lot more capacity building for sustainability organized by DMOs. And this is, very fantastic, especially given the amount of stress that you must have been under. So supply supports, advice, incentives, funding to increase the sustainability performance of suppliers has gone up from 48% or 48% of DMOs offering it to 65% offering it in 2020. And training for organizers and training for suppliers, sustainability training that is, of course, also has gone up a little bit. Now, talking about the suppliers a little bit more, of course, you bet more than anyone knows how hard the tourism industry has been hit by the pandemic, and meetings and events even more so. So this also was reflected in the supplier scores, as Rebecca already showed. So certification levels dropped, especially for venues, hotels, and airports. And we believe that this trend is likely to worsen in 2021 with further budget cuts and people cutting ends where possible. Of course, also the new policy standards that we've implemented will influence this decrease in scores. Looking at the graph for this, so here again, green is 2020. You can see that for the venue certified, the airport certified, and the event organizers with a policy, that those saw the biggest drop in performance in 2020. But interestingly enough, that for airports that were carbon neutral and event organizers that are certified, the numbers actually went up. So who knows how this will develop in 2021, but definitely worth noting this for the future and seeing, where are the areas where we can actually influence things through, support mechanisms for getting certifications, or in other areas, maybe let's place our bets elsewhere. Now, very much based on everything that we've just talked about, here are some general recommendations for 3 core areas. The first is related to destination management organization strategy. So really ensuring that the strategy includes SMART goals and KPIs for environmental, social, and economic issues is absolutely crucial. Environmental and social still a little bit neglected. And this will, of course, then also help with better reporting. Similarly, aligning the strategy and the goals within it with the city and leisure tourism strategies is also very important for optimum impact, making sure that there's a unified voice from the city and the tourism industry. And then also throughout the strategy creation process, really inviting stakeholder participation, especially now, this is more important than ever, COVID-19, getting stakeholders together under something that is positive. It can almost seem like a positive light at the end of a dark tunnel. When it comes to communications, there's 3 other recommendations here. So really including plans for reporting in your sustainability strategy, maybe developing dashboards for simple reporting in order to do this, and overall just maintaining a relatively transparent and authentic approach to communication by telling the whole journey that you're on, the bad experiences, your good experience, and just being honest to both potential clients and the stakeholders. And then lastly, when it comes to capacity building, it looks like there's an overall trend that's really positive, much more capacity building happening for suppliers, for your teams, for clients. Now, one way in which capacity can be built further is by really training your team on your sustainability strategy once it is created, and ensuring that they really understand where they themselves can contribute, where they what their role is in supporting each of those different goals and objectives, and supporting supply chains for improving certification. That's also an area where there could be some more training done, some more training on policy writing, for example, or capacity building on really realizing the value of this certification, to really shift the whole ecosystem towards improved sustainability performance. And then lastly, offering sustainability training also for some clients and event organizers. So to sort of create your own best practice examples to promote what you're doing and also to encourage others to join you. Okay, now these are some general trends, some general recommendations for you all. As I said, this session is recorded, so you can rewatch this afterwards. But for now, I'll stop. I'll hand over to Claudia, and I'll leave it at that.
So thank you, Noah. Thank you very much. And before we go into the next presentation from Destination Berlin, I would like to ask you to stand up, everyone, spontaneously. Please stand up. Let's do a small movement in the morning or in the evening, wherever you are, before going to bed, before starting the day. And so let's just being on our space, just hopping a little bit, shaking your arms off, your legs off, just a little bit, getting into the movement and hopefully getting a little bit warm. So that's what we would like to do, just shaking things off. Great, thank you very much. And let's do a quick sunrise. We want to greet the sun and the day for us here in Europe. And we want to thank the day over there in Asia. Thank you very much. So thank you. You may take your seats again. So over to Berlin, to Germany's capital. So I'm happy to introduce Luisa Mentz, who is project manager with VisitBerlin Convention Office. And she is responsible for the My Sustainability Initiative, Sustainable Meetings Berlin. That's the name. And also in addition, for the development of the internal sustainability strategy for Visit Berlin. So with this, Luisa, herzlich willkommen. Bienvenida, welcome, over to you.
Thanks a lot, Claudia, for this nice introduction. I'm going to share my screen quickly so that you can see the slides I've brought. You should be able to see my screen now. Is that correct? Great. I get thumbs up from Noah. Thank you. Okay, yeah, as Claudia introduced, I'm going to talk a bit about our sustainability initiative, Sustainable Meetings Berlin today. I'm very happy to get that opportunity, and yeah, I think it's always great to exchange with others and get your thoughts about it as well. So yeah, very happy to be here. And as Claudia introduced, our initiative is called Sustainable Meetings Berlin, for events that make a difference. First of all, I'd like to start with our vision, like the big why behind our engagement. That is that we want to transform Berlin into one of the most innovative and sustainable event destinations in the world, let's say. As you might know, Berlin is a very metropolitan city. It is a very innovative and sustainable city. There's a lot going on here. We are kind of an NGO and startup hub, so there's a lot of innovation here, and that's why we thought it is about time to as well transform the event industry and to help especially suppliers to go in a more sustainable way, but as well obviously the event planners, to create awareness and to help them go that sustainable way. So the framework we are kind of working in is the Tourism Plan 2018 Plus, which is a tourism plan focused on sustainability and city compatibility, which was developed by the Senate Department for Economy, Enterprises and Energy, we had the chance to collaborate in the establishment of that tourism plan as Visit Berlin. And there's a lot of our projects included there as well, like Sustainable Meetings Berlin. But obviously we're as well working currently on establishing a very own sustainability strategy for Visit Berlin, which obviously is very important too. So what does Sustainable Meetings Berlin consist of? What is it all about? We are talking always about three main pillars it consists of, which is first of all the community of service providers, of partners, which is key to the initiative, obviously, because yeah, they need to transform if we want the industry to transform. Then our certification system based on our very own sustainability management system, and last but not at all least, our online platform, Sustainable Meetings Berlin, which you can see here in the background. I'm going to go a bit more into detail on all three of those pillars. So the partner community, yeah, which I already said is obviously key. So with this community, we've been building, and we are always yeah, keeping to build on. We try to create awareness among the suppliers to build capacity, and as well to give them kind of a safe space to exchange about the topic, and yeah, to learn from each other as well. And yeah, for that end, we are organizing various formats to make this exchange possible. As for example, our Sustainable Mice meetups, we are organizing about every 8 weeks. We're always inviting an external expert to talk about any specific topic, like for example, the possibilities of CO2 compensation, or the potential of hydrogen power for the event sector. Then we do have a closed online group where partners, suppliers do have a chance to yeah, to share links, to share ideas, to ask questions as well, which is very important. And they will always get an answer either from our side or from other partners. So not dependent on any specific time or date, there is always exchange going on. And as well, we are organizing on a regular basis workshops and expert days, trainings to prepare them for their audit, which I'm as well going to talk about in a minute. And this expert days, for example, we have been organizing one in last September, and that was the time when we were able gladly to have live events, and we were as well happy to have Claudia there to present the GDS movement to our partners there. And yeah, hopefully we will be able to organize another live event soon. Yeah, so as I said, the audit certification scheme, kind of the heart of the project. Yeah, what does it consist of? It is an audit which is based on a catalog of criteria we developed. We've decided to create a very own system because we've been looking at all those certification checklists out there, and have compared them, and we've seen that they are so diverse in the levels, and yeah, not very comparable. So that was kind of why we decided to create a known system, to have really to assure that there is a good standard, and that we do not only offer a checklist to our partners, but really a management system which would help them to develop. So we've oriented our catalog on recognized frameworks like the Global Reporting Initiative, several ISO standards, EMAS, and as well the German Sustainability Codex, the DNK, to as well help partners go like the first step towards, for example, publishing a sustainability report based on the GRI norms. What came out was a total of 62 process-oriented criteria. So, which is to say that we're not looking into indicators. We're not checking on, are you using plastic straws or not, for example, but asking for processes, asking for concepts, really asking them to really think about the topic for their own company. And the criteria does also cover 4 areas, which was important for us, that we are not only trying to tackle the environmental issues, but as well, obviously, the social area, the social topics, as well as the economic topic, and the 4th area, which would be governance, risk, and compliance. Also important is that we've developed specific sets of criteria for each area of the industry. So there is a special set for hotels, a special set for venues, for catering services, and so on, to assure that the compilation of the criteria will always meet their specific business model. And as said before, we are seeking to drive a continuous improvement process within the companies. As an example, I've brought one of the criteria data sheets. It is in German, but it might give you a good overview what this criteria look like. This is only one criteria. This is about the introduction of a structured complaint management system. And as you can see, we will always have these different steps, steps of percentage of fulfillment of the criteria, and partners will see what they fulfill to reach the different steps of percentages. How did we develop this management system? Well, we started working with an external sustainability consultancy to assure that the standard, as I said, will be high. First of all, we've organized various stakeholder workshops. We've done a materiality analysis, which is very important, obviously. And then we worked with a consultancy on the elaboration of the criteria. As well, we do have stakeholder reviews of the criteria, and we're still doing that on a regular basis. The 3rd pillar of the initiative is the online platform, as mentioned before. And this is very important because obviously partners are working on this audit, are getting certified. They need visibility of this as well. So we do have our website, which serves as an information tool for event planners. We have included a green encyclopedia to make them be able to learn about the main terms of sustainability. There's included as well a toolbox with sustainable ideas for planning components. And of course, very important, the listing of the sustainable partners, so of the certified partners. They will as well find infographics, which give them ideas on possible small changes to make the event more sustainable. And this is already the overview on our initiative. As I said before, we're always happy to get in touch. My colleague Kira and I, we are mainly in charge of this initiative, and hope this gave a well, at least a small inside overview. And happy to hear about your questions and thoughts as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was very insightful, and lots of information, of course, and very exciting information. So, but now we are going to our 2nd destination. So thank you very much, Luisa and Kira. And now we will be going from just fly with me or by train or whatsoever from Berlin. Let's go now down to France, and we go to Bordeaux. And it's a pleasure to introduce to Julie, I hope, Benisty-Oviedo, sounds very Spanish, sustainable. She's the Sustainable Tourism Project Manager at the Bordeaux Tourism and Congress. So I just don't see Julie right now, but
here.
Because so please over to you, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Claudia, and hello everyone. I'm happy to share with you part of our strategy for this year. So I'm going to share my screen too. Can you all see my screen now? Yeah, good. Thank you, Noah. So it's different presentation than Luisa, but I think we have the same inspiration than to the one of asking and working with our stakeholders to build our strategy. So I will focus on that. This is what we are planning to do for this year. So I will just start with just simple questions. Why do we thought we needed an open governance in Bordeaux? And I will start with two results from our TCI research survey that we did 2 years ago on the perception of tourism by our residents. So the first data is that only 8% of our residents find that the city takes into account the impact of tourism on their lives. We had quite good results on this survey because 65% of our residents think that tourism has more positive consequences than negative one. But we think that we should take into account this specific data because they don't feel involved in the tourism strategy. And well, they are quite right because we didn't involve them at all before. Often when you think about how residents can be involved in tourism, you often think about how tourists can be useful for tourism and not really how residents, can be useful for tourism and not how tourism can be useful for the residents. So we never perceived our strategy as a way to drive a positive impact on their daily lives and on the territory. The second data is that the idea of the increase in property prices and housing difficulties are believed to be due to tourism instead of the arrival of new residents. We had a huge increase in new arrivals since, I would say, 3 or 4 years now in Bordeaux. It's mainly due to the new high-speed train station because Bordeaux is now only 2 hours from Paris. So obviously it brought huge economic attractivity and new residents. And as we're still a quite small city, it really resulted in housing difficulties for residents here. Since last year, we also have a local regulation on collaborative renting platforms such as Airbnb. So the impact of such platforms in the city center is quite low compared to the new arrivals. But what's interesting with this data is that there's a real misunderstanding of our actions as a DMO and on their real impact in the city. So with those two data, we thought that we should change the way we think about our strategy. So our response is to build an open governance for tourism, to integrate all stakeholders in a common reflection on the challenges of our tourism activity. And when I say all stakeholders, I mean institutions, social professionals, elected officials, residents, associations, company, every person whose life is impacted by tourism. We wish to co-build together a strategy. And so the thing is that we really want the reflection to get to be resulted in a real action plan for the next years. So it's just not, we are asking your opinion and then we do whatever we wanted to do from the beginning, that it will be really correlated to the action plan for the following years. What we hope to have as a result with this governance is that we would carry collectively the messages of our destination and to have a positive social, environmental, and economic impact on the territory, its inhabitants and visitors. And we have a core value in Bordeaux. I think you all have the same one than we do, that we call vivre ensemble in French. It's kind of living together in harmony. So we hope to generate this sense of belonging and commitment to these shared values. So I will shortly present you the methodology we are planning. The first thing is like a launching event. I hope live events, even if we get prepared to have obviously a virtual one. to gather all the stakeholders in Bordeaux metropolitan area, because we gather 28 cities. So the first gathering will be the occasion to explain this methodology, also the timing for this year's, and to have a first moment of discussion. What, in their opinion, should be the first issues we should tackle? We hope we also have registration for the working groups, which is my second point. We want to create spaces of discussion to promote innovative ideas. So we want interprofessional working groups. And when I say interprofessional, it means that we integrate social professional, association, residents, and all, as I told before, and to use design thinking methods and collective intelligence. As every destination, we have three main targets: leisure visitors, business, and local tourism. So we have to think the future of our destination for these three segments. So we'll have three different groups based on demand. And we will also have more specific groups working on certain priority issues. For example, in the first forum, if everybody thinks that we should really think about mobility, which is a real issue in Bordeaux, and when we listen to our stakeholders, they always say that we should work on mobility. So for example, if this is one of the results we want to work more specifically in, then we will have a specific group to complete all the process. So all stakeholders will be included in the discussion, even in the allocation of the budget. So we want to really have a full discussion. We then have an evaluative communication, because we want full transparency on the results and conclusions of the working groups. So we'll have, for example, a report that we will present to our Council of Representatives. The idea that we want people to feel that the conclusion of the working groups are really correlated to the action plan for next year and the following 5 years, actually. We want that the people involved in the groups, or even if they are not involved in the groups, they see that we are really integrating the ideas from the groups, and this will lead to annual results evaluation. Just as a conclusion, and it's not because it's a GDS presentation, but I would like to insist on how did we get to this solution. I think that Bordeaux 2 years ago wouldn't have built such a governance. And I think that it's thanks to the international standards we are trying to compete with and participating in. First of all, the GDS, obviously, when you have the indicator on strategy, on policy, on governance and measurement, we could feel 2 years ago that we had low results on that, and there is something that we missed. And with the TCI research results, we could compare them and see what should be a good strategy for us. It obviously responds also to sustainable development goals, and the ninth one, the number 9 on industry, innovation, infrastructure, and also the 11 on sustainable cities and communities. We are also aiming to get for June the ISO 20221 certification, and you also have protocols on how you communicate with your stakeholders and how you build your strategies. So I would say that this new governance comes from first the results of having listened to all our stakeholders, and in particular our residents. Also, thanks to the virtuous method we are involved in, I hope we found the keys to hopefully solve them this year. Thank you all, and I'm at your disposal if you have any question. Obviously, I wanted to present something we haven't done already, and this is our plan for this year, so I can't really answer quite concrete technical questions, but I'm here for any question you should have on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Julie. Wow, also absolutely great topics, and I believe very, very important for all our destination work in our destinations. So with this, Noah, I'll pass over to you for a short Q&A that we can have, and then just for you to know, then we will go in a couple of minutes into another breakout session. But for now, you have the opportunity to ask and respond questions to the presentation seen so far. Noah, please.
All right. So I already see that there's a few questions in the chat. Do any of the people that asked them in the chat want to speak them out here in the call and then ask that way? Or should I read them out? Is there any people that want to speak? So for example, Ewood, you had a question around pushback on the certification process. Do you want to divulge us and explain this question a little bit more for Luisa?
Yes, Noah, thank you very much. And thank you all for having me today as a guest in your meeting. I'm just here on the invitation of Guy to take a look at what you're all doing. And then now it's very inspiring. So thank you very much. Luisa, thank you for your presentation. I was very inspired by your process when it comes to your own certification of venues and accommodation in your city. I was wondering about the possible pushback you probably got when you all tried to start this, because I can't imagine that you said, well, let's do our own certification, and everyone was very happy about that. So maybe can you dive in a bit more into that? What pushback did you get, and how did you mitigate that?
Yeah, definitely. You're right. It was not like that everybody was very happy about that. Obviously not, but still it was kind of a process driven by suppliers as well, because there have been many suppliers in Berlin working on that topic, and they felt a bit alone with that. You know, they were very engaged, and we're like, okay, we need somehow the visibility, and as well we need some structure, you know, kind of like a overall structure for that. So that was a good thing, and of course we've been talking to them right from the beginning on and involved them. So that was good, but still there is and as well nowadays it is still the pushback kind of of more of the hotel side, the hotel industry, because many of those do have their own certification systems, their own systems, sustainability systems, which are not very transparent and most of the hotels, but so they often rely on that, and they tell us we can't do it because our headquarter tells us to only follow our own systems, you know. So that is still a lot of work for us to communicate on that, to show them that they need to move forwards as well, you know, that it's not enough to rely on that. We are not changing the towels each day, you know. that is not the standard we are looking for. So I think communication is key on that. We're using every chance we get to make sure they understand our system, they understand what we're looking to, and I'd say this is the work we are doing, communicate in every possible occasion.
Great. Thank you, Luisa. Thank you. So there's also one question for Julie, and this one's from Guy, and a more technical question by the sounds of it. So are there any platforms that you've looked at for really citizen engagement tools to really get them involved and track progress for some of the projects that you may be doing?
Yeah, we're thinking to have an online platform for the real-time conversation aspect. We already have a council which represents our citizens, and it's quite good, because I wouldn't be able to build a representative cities council for our 28 cities. So it already exists. So we already have this council with 2 residents per cities and associations involved in. So it's quite good. We can work with them, and they will participate in the groups. So it's already like one of the things we can have as a support. And we obviously want to go further with this idea of a real-time conversation and a platform, because what you often have with some results and data is that people can feel that you just use the data as you want to use as a conclusion. So as full transparency, we want to publish everything So if people want to really have all the information, then they can find it all. Also with the surveys we've already had before. So it's something we would like to do, but it's not done yet, obviously.
Oh, that's fantastic. A great intention. I look forward to tracking your progress. And as I wrote in the comments, maybe having a little update call session for this.
Yeah, with pleasure.
So I think we're pretty much at the end of the Q&A session time-wise, because we hit 11, but maybe one more question for you, Luisa, was from Guy. You had asked something, right? No, Rebecca. So Luisa, how could you tell us how you will promote continual improvement with these certifications? Because I remember that being quite an important topic in your presentations, idea of continual improvement.
Are you referring to the continuous improvement of the certification scheme itself, or of the partners?
I think more the partners. So the fact that these are really process-oriented criteria.
Yeah. So on our website, in the profiles of each partner, you will find their results, and there's as well the results divided by the four areas of sustainability, and we do have a process of each year, like an audit process. So they will be revised, re-audited each year. We are still looking into that to make visible as well the development, to show on the website maybe where did they start and where are they now at. But actually we do not have this in place yet, but it is a thing we're looking into as well. Yeah.
Fantastic. Cool. Thank you both for your insights, for your presentations, and of course for answering the questions now. So Claudia, do you want to introduce the breakout session while I prepare the rooms? You're muted.
Thank you, Noah. And so you will go now into breakout rooms. This time we'll do 3 or 4, depending on what the number gives. And actually the discussion around ideally, so what went well, so for you to exchange among each other, what went well last year for you, and also what can you learn from the presentations, maybe to apply or integrate or look at from what you have heard so far today from all the presentations. So that's simply that you engage and exchange with each other and share a little bit and and speak it out. So with this, Noah, so you'll have around 5 minutes, and then you'll come back again. So we hope you enjoyed your exchange, colleagues and peers, and so we are coming to the end of our time, as always, at some point. So to not keep you over time so much. So Noah, I will pass on to you to just explain a little bit what's next, what's coming next.
Thank you.
And we love again our little child here that accompanies us from journey to journey.
What are the next steps? Yes, it can seem pretty steep at times. Anywho. Next steps for us. I mean, one will be that we'll have another Feeling the Pulse session, most likely on Wednesday, the 2nd of March. And the topic will be strategies and really planning for the year ahead. This is something that we're with the GS movement at the moment in a process of really looking at. And I think some of our own reflections could potentially also help your own processes, strategies, and plans for the next year. So that's the next session, 2nd of March on Wednesday. Mark the date, save it in your calendar. We'll send out a proper invite for it in due course. Then a more general note of next steps for us is to really look at our digital developments more. So looking at Omni, the data collection platform, in more detail, really thinking about how can we make this as useful a platform for you as possible. So there may be other emails, there may be me reaching out to some of you to ask you for some feedback, for maybe taking you through what our ideas are for development to really make it much more useful when it comes to the reporting and analytics and also the communication side of your results. And then lastly, there's some criteria improvements in key date notices that we want to share, but I'll hand that over to Rebecca because she's the pro on this. So Rebecca, how about you take over and share some of the next steps for criteria improvements with us.
Okay, could you go to the, thank you. So this afternoon, we will be sending out our GDS movement survey to everybody. We would really appreciate your contribution there. The survey has 3 parts. It shouldn't take longer than 10 minutes, according to SurveyMonkey. So we have some questions about the GDS movement in general, why you're participating, your ambitions, some general feedback, a section on the GDS-Index. So we would really like to understand your challenges in the index this year, any improvements you think we should make, and so that we can have a general understanding. We will try not to change a lot of the index for 2021, but at the same time we do think it's important to collect feedback from you and integrate that where necessary. So we'd really appreciate your feedback via this survey, so that we can really take that into consideration. And the last section of the survey will be about these feeling the pulse sessions, which have really become a very important component of the GDS movement. So we want to make sure that they're still fulfilling your requirements, and we can include any extra topics that you think could be interesting. So that will be going out this afternoon, and as I say, it would be great if you could reply to us by the 12th of February. So you can see the preliminary timeline here for the GDS index. The survey will go out today, the 2nd of February. We would need your replies by next Friday, the 12th of February. We intend to have this year's criteria ready by the beginning of April. And as Noah said, the Omni platform will open for the GDS index this year on the 1st of June. You will have from the 1st of June to the 13th of August to enter your submission for the GDS Index 2021. We will then review, as usual, all of the submissions, and the results will be announced at the ICA Congress on the 24th of October. And following that date, again, as this year, you will be having your meetings with us to have your assessment reports. So that's just to give you an idea of how the timing will be this year. Please don't wait until the 1st of June to do anything about your index. Please do use this time to prepare. As you know, a lot of preparation is involved, but the online platform will be open for you to enter the data from the 1st of June to the 13th of August. I don't know if there are any questions about that, but that's the timeline for this year.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. Are there any questions on any of this? Well, if it is also clear, wonderful. With that, Claudia, do you have any final closing words?
No, it was just really lovely to have you all here. I mean, it's still beginning of the year, let's say so. And we have a full year to go, a full year of being able to bring change. And so with this, we look forward to seeing you at the next Feel the Pulse session. And you know, your GDS movement team is always there, and just a shout, an email or WhatsApp away. So have a nice rest of the week, and thank you very much for joining. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.